Hello everyone, this is Shiny Noctals, and tonight I want to let you guys know costed me a fair bit amount of money, but I figured it was worth it. I purchased the Geotemporal. I'll write it here because I don't know why I didn't do it before. But it was an update regarding it was an addition for the quantum deep dive that I mentioned in the previous video. Geotemporal Haplo deep dive. I think I can just do it like that. Um, Basically, it's just an add-on to quite an expensive add-on, but worth it nonetheless. To the quantum deep dive, it just kind of allows you to go deeper into your DNA. And yeah, I figured it was worth it. It was a bit pricey, a bit more pricey than the previous option, but definitely worth it. See if I can get this kind of all set up for you guys. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Okay, I might need to close some tabs because this is kind of all over the place. But yeah, so my ancestral summary didn't change that much. But what did change, oops, my bad, was my deep dive. Now, as you can see, I got quite a few different matches here. I still got my Gallo-Celtic matches, and a lot of people call me Celtic Healer. Particularly my Uncle Herman, my Uncle Cherokee Japanese. I call my Uncle Cherokee Japanese Herman. I can see now why. This Aurelian match still also connected to the Mycenaean Greeks and the Trojans. The Age of Heroes still there. Yep, Roman's still there. And then this was the big one that I was not expecting. Well, at first I was expecting some matches related to Native Americans or Native Japanese Americans or however you want to say it, because my dad got that. He got a match with like Montana from 10,000 before Common Era. But he and I didn't get any new native matches. We did get a lot of this though, Avar, which was interesting. The Avars, I did check some matches with the natives around like I'll show you guys here. Maybe it's better to show it. I had a match. It's not a deep dive, but it's a match with Bering Strait. This is really Siberia, really. Yeah, Ikven. And here it's talking about it's closest to Eskimo, Inuit, West Greenlander, Arctic Amerindian, Chukchi, Haida, and which are the Pacific Northwestern Western tribes. And you can see the natives, the Native Americans, indigenous people in North America, they had mixed with the Avars, as well as Hungarian conqueror and Saka. And it was said that they had come from Northeast Asia, that that they really shared Northeast Asian ancestry with the uh, well, you can find it in Mongolia, Manchuria, but also the Japanese and Koreans have that as well. I think they call it Amur River Northeast Asian ancestry. And I'll see if I can find it here. Um, let's see. Yeah, because the Japanese do have. Here's Koreans, of course, but also Japanese have some as well. Let me look. Might give you because it says that the Avars had quite a bit of Northeast Asian ancestry. I think the Japanese have a little bit too. Because you have the Jomon, which I'm pretty sure I'm connected to through the native ancestry. I have native Japanese American. And then, but there's also like it breaks it down to like Jomon, because Japan has like three major ancestries. The Jomon, which is like the indigenous people of Japan. They've been there since the Ice Age. Then you have the Northeast Asian ancestry, which came later, which some people say came during the Yayoi period. Then you have the East Asian ancestry, which came a little bit later through the Kofun, I think. Um, there should be okay. So you can see here, and the reason why I do Japan because really, it's like I tell my uncle Cherokee Japanese Herman that the Japanese, I know a lot of people think they're all the same, but they're really more mixed than people think. And I'll see if I can get a good photo of them. But you have the Jomon. Uh, actually, let me. Uh, yeah, you have the Jomon here, which that was the beginning of Japan. Then you had the Yayoi period, which I think occurred 2,500 years ago. So that you start to see a mixture of Jomon and Northeast Asian, which I guess would really be connected to the groups like the Avars, which would be connected to like Tungzik people. So Tungzik, they're not necessarily Mongolian or Turkic. They're like their kind of own group. And I'll see if I can explain them a little bit better. Then you have the Kofun, which that was, it's more so in line with modern day Japan. You see the huge increase in East Asian, but you still see the Northeast Asian and Jomon. And then present day Japan, you see it predominantly being East Asian, which makes sense. Um, as you know, they had come through also China, Korea. But you also still see that Northeast Asian in that Jomon ancestry. So, and I'll see if I can get some photos of the Jomon. Uh, and I think when they say Yayoi, I think they're really meaning like pulse, like the Kofun period. But I think they just prefer using Yayoi because I think that's maybe in their mind it's like that's the start of like whether it's East Asian or Northeast Asian, that's the kind of connection. I'm gonna see if I can find it. Okay, so you can see here, here's a photo of a Jomon. So this would be how some of the Japanese originally looked like. Uh, this is Yayoi, which would be like Yayoi Kofun, in addition to like East Asian, Northeast Asian. And then mix is just, a mix between predominantly Jomon, predominantly Yayoi, or Yayoi Kofun. I'll just use Yayoi for now because that's what they tend to use. But really, it's the addition of predominantly East Asian and Northeast Asian that came later, of course, because they were always related to Asians in some way. But this is really just kind of in addition to. Um, See if I can find another photo. Um, here's another photo here. Uh, they said that the samurai had come from the Jomon though. That was or at least the Ainu, which also could also be connected to Northeast Asian. They had said that was where these samurai um, that warrior lineage might have come from. Because again, you got three groups. You have Jomon, Northeast Asian, and East Asian. So maybe we could say Jomon and Yayoi Kofun. Or I think some people, I think when Kinko Ito was interviewing the Ainu would say, I think Waijin, which would be probably referring more so to Yayoi Kofun, modern day Japan. Um, you can see how she's done videos interviewing the Ainu. Here's Kinko right here, Kinko-san. And then here's the Ainu elder. Here's her giving a lecture. She reminds me so much of my dad when I see her. I say my dad always would say he's European and East Asian, but I can just see it so clearly. Maybe it's the glasses. I'm not sure, but yeah. My dad, I haven't really seen my dad without glasses often, so it's kind of hard to really get a full picture. But yeah, she definitely looks pretty similar. Um, okay, so why is this all so important? Well, because it's interesting how um, the Avars, the people really who had come from, I guess, Northeast Asia, Siberia, Mongolia, they were before I guess what do you call Genghis Khan and all that, the Mongol horde. Um, they um, they seem to have had maternal lineage predominantly connected to, at least originally, their maternal lineage seemed to be either Northeast Asian, which would have been connected to Tungzik, and I know not everyone knows what that means, so I'm gonna try to see if I can explain it. um, so let me first get Tungzik difference between Turkic. Okay, okay, maybe this would be a better question. Tungzik. Yeah. So Tungzik are spoken by people in Siberia and parts of China and what is now modern-day Russia. A notable member is Manchu, the language of the Manchu dynasty. Okay, that ruled China. Okay. And I know the Japanese have mentioned some connection to Manchuria as well, through ancestry. So maybe that comes from that north eastern Asian ancestry ever since the Yayoi. That may be part of it. Some linguistic groups group Tungzik with Turkic and Mongolian as part of the Altai family, but that is not universally accepted. Okay. Um, this is a controversial theory that proposes a genetic relationship between Turkic, Mongolian, and Tungzik, and sometimes includes Korean and Japanese, probably through the Northeast Asian ancestry. They're arguing about it, but let me see. Genetically closer to Mongols or Turks, or maybe uh, Mongolians or Turks. Yeah, let's see. I don't always like to use the word Mongol because I don't want people to always have a negative association with the Mongols. Because we all make mistakes, but we always can do better too. Um, so sometimes I like to also use Mongolian because they're more than just Mongols or Mongolians. I know some people would say, well, isn't it just the same? And I would say, well, if you say Mongolian, then it's more so, you're it's it breaks a few more barriers. Um, but let's see. Okay. Uh, okay. So what it looks like is that the Mongolians had more O admixture from the south. O means connected to like Han Chinese and what people would perceive as Yayoi or Kolfin paternal lineage. From the looks of it, I think they also have a lot of C as well, which I think is the defining lineage of Mongolians. But they might have a little bit of O as well as what they're saying. The Tungzik have more Siberian. Okay, it makes sense. Yeah, Northeast Asian Siberian. That makes sense. And Turks have more West Asian ancestry admixture. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so again, I'm not the most well versed when it comes to knowing the deepest depths of East Asian or Northeast Asian ancestry, or Siberian. I try to explain it as best as I can, even though like part of my ancestry is East Asian or Native Japanese American. Kind of that intersection between Native and Japanese. Um, yeah, you can see a picture here. This is would be the I guess the Northeast Asian ancestry that Japanese and Koreans have. Um, came during the Yayoi period. And you can, let me see if I can, okay. These would be some of the people. The Inviks would come from Siberia, that's Northeast Asia. See the Yakugars. I can already see a connection also with the Japanese. And natives too, because the natives would also have shared this lineage. And I guess the Avars, it's almost like the Asians went everywhere, which is not a bad thing. Uh, this would be more so during the, I guess the medieval ages, seems like. Okay, so I wanted to kind of clear that because I feel like it's kind of a missing link. They also did a video regarding Turks being related to Native Americans because I guess some of the Avars and some of the Turks, what, well, oh, well, because they might have also been related through the paternal lineage, but I think there was a Hungarian that also did a video too. Um, I'll see if I can find him because he did a video regarding going to Ecuador and the natives could understand his language. And this could be connected to that Northeast Asian lineage because the natives also would have been connected to that lineage in time. So here it is. I am Janos Morik. Hopefully I'm not butchering it too bad. I know some people who have Hungarian ancestry, or I know some people that have Hungarian ancestry in the U.S. and in Canada. Uh, so I'm not the perfect at explaining it, but I try my best. Um, Amateur linguist, and in the 1960s I visited Ecuador where I was able to speak my native Hungarian with three Native American tribes. Kahari Mochika, which would be connected to or sounds like almost like the culture from Peru because they would be called the Mochi culture. I'll mention them in a little bit. And Puruha, some claim that if it was true evidence of an ancient worldwide culture that would be further proven, the entire history of humanity could be changed. Maybe because of maybe because of that, my story didn't become famous after revealing this news. I was ridiculed, largely ignored. And they also did a connection, Turks and Native Americans. They did a video on it. Let's see if I can find it. If not, I'll post it in the comments. But they did a video. Let's see if I. Oh, here. So yeah, they did a um, connection with I guess this is more so with the Turks than the Avars. Because I think the Avars, although some say they were connected to Turks, they were also Tungzik as well. Tungzik. But yeah, there's definitely that connection between not only the Turks but also I guess the Avars which settled Hungary, and then even some natives have a connection to Mongolia because they would have mixed with the native people. Okay. Uh, again, hopefully, this makes sense. I try to explain it the best way I can. Um, but I know sometimes showing kind of the admixtures helps more as well. I think I'll see if I can get more here because you can see. So the natives, Alaskan Athabascan, are essentially natives that came after the original indigenous people of North America, or Paleo natives. And they settled a lot of the Pacific Northwest and some went further south. Um, these people would have come before the Inuit and the Eskimos, though, uh, before the formation of them. So they would be closer to the Tlingit, Athabascan, uh, Navajo or Diné, Haida, Apache, Tsimshian, which Tsimshian would be related to my connected most likely to my medieval Japanese Scottish old friend Jess. So yes, there is that connection there. So you can see that. See also they also would have mixed with the natives already there. See a trend further south into the Americas. But yeah, I was gonna see. I guess in the medieval ages there was really, the northeastern, Central Asian, all those nomadic people in the East Eurasian steppe. They were all they were all moving about. Not a bad thing though. So yeah, so you can see here too. Aside from the Avars, you can also see they were. It wouldn't necessarily mean they would have come from Genghis Khan and all that, because this would have been beforehand. But you could already see the Mongolians. That's why I also use the word Mongolians and not just Mongols, because there were some Mongolians that were probably not into the whole formation of Genghis Khan and all that. So that's probably why some of them started migrating east to the Americas. And you can still see here they're still pretty close genetically related to. And I know the word Eskimo, a lot of people tend to have a negative connotation for that because that was used to mean those who eat raw fish, raw meat, but it could also mean those who tie snowshoes. So if you ever hear that word and someone says, you can't say that, you can always just tell them, it can also mean those who tie snowshoes because, well, they would have done that in colder environments. Um, and I think they said that the Avars, because I have some ancestry, Arctic ancestry that comes before the Inuits. The Inuit were not the only Eskimos, those named as such. There were also those known as quote unquote Paleo Eskimos, and they would have been most closely related to the Roran. I know they call it the Cognate, but these would have been more related to the Avars, and then they're also connected to the Ket Siberians. Some people believe the Kets were contributed ancestry to the Celts and the Basque, Celtic people and the Basque people. And this would have been long ago, though, long, long ago. I'm talking about maybe even before the Ice Age. But yeah, you can see uh, they appear to look very Asian, um, but but they have a Y-DNA that would be shared with groups such as the Celts and things like that through uh, Maltipwe. Yeah, and that would have been from Siberia over 20,000 years ago. But yeah, it's I try my best to explain it because I'm not always the best at these things, but I do what I can. Let's see. Yeah, strong connection with the Roran. Uh, and then they had problems with the Turkic Empire. I think that's also why the Avars migrated west. It was even before the Mongolian Empire. It was during the Turkic Empire, which would have been before. And when I think of Roran, I think of Rurouni Kenshin, like which would translate to Master of the Samurai. So And to me, I almost feel like they're related because, if only because Rorun, Roroni, it sounds almost identical. It's as if maybe some of the Yayoi mixed with the Jomon, they had the same Northeast Asian ancestry that would have contributed to the Japanese and to the samurai. Um, I know some people say samurai, and you know they usually say that. But if you want to pronounce it like the way the Japanese do, or at least how I believe the Japanese would say it, you would say samurai. So yes, and they did a remake of the series, and I enjoy uh, Rurouni Kenshin. I think that's how you would say it in Japanese. Rurouni Kenshin. But yeah, um, yeah. Let me get Japanese. Hopefully this video doesn't get flagged for. I don't think for playing a voice. Rurouni Kenshin. Yeah, Kenshin. Yeah, I try my best. Rioni Kenshin. The Japanese elder would always tell me if I could speak Spanish, I could speak Japanese because the phonetics tend to be similar. But if you can see here, yeah, you see how they say samurai. Samurai. Then you can see here, Rironi. Hold on. Hold on, let's see here. Rironi. Yeah, I try my best, but yeah, you can see how they say it, or because like sometimes like in English, standard English, some people would pronounce the R more in Japanese words, but I think the way you'd pronounce the words, the R, it's more similar to Spanish actually, because some people would say Naruto, uh, but I think it's Naruto. You see how the R is more, it's not as heavily accentuated. So then you have Sasuke or Sasuke. Sasuke, yeah. Again, with certain Japanese words, it takes time to fully master. But yeah, I know for like at least Naruto for sure. You wouldn't say Naruto, you would say Naruto. So then we can do samurai one more time. Samurai. So yeah. Okay. I know we spent a lot of time with that. Um, I remember in Japan I would speak broken Japanese, and even though I spoke broken Japanese, it was still enough for them to want to invite me and eat a sushi with them at a sushi bar in Tokyo. So it was very, very nice of them. I try my best, I do. And I do see a lot of phonetic similarities between Spanish and Japanese because like the vowel sounds are very similar. It's not 100% identical, but it's very similar, and so at least it helps. It helps to speak Japanese. So. And then here there's also some matches. There's a match from Mexico or Mexico, and you can see a match with the Japanese Jomon. And as I mentioned before, the Jomon uh, would have looked closer like this. Yeah, had some connection there. But you also see a connection too uh, during the period of it's not only the Aztecs but also Miztecs, because they would have been there before. An area called Oaxaca, Mexico. They would have been connected to the Yayoi. They would have had that add an extra Avar. So they would have looked closer to this one. This guy. No, no, this guy over here. Yeah. I swear I'm not trying to compare Pokemon. But but yeah, that's how he would have looked. Um, okay. Yeah, and even the armor here, the Avar, reminds me a bit of the Samurai. I wonder if that's where they, if that's where some of the armor comes from. It is from that Northeast Asian lineage. You see the plate armor here. It's very similar. I never thought about it before, but maybe it influenced the armor of the samurai. It could have been a possibility. Yeah. All right. Well, we learned something new. Okay. So I know we spent a lot of time with the Avars, but I think it's good to explain it because they had an impact not only in Japan and the Americas, but even in Europe during the medieval ages. And I'll talk a little bit more about them later, but yeah, but yeah, that's the connection to East Asia and Northeast Asia. Um, Hopefully, we eventually get more different other samples in time. Okay, so all right, we got it. Then we got a Celtic Scordisci match, which would be connected to the Celts who went to the Balkans. And I've covered some of these other groups in my video before, my previous videos. There's a Pannonian Aurelians, those would have been northern Aurelians connected to Mycenaean Greeks, Trojans. Acromani was a Germanic tribe. Um, that was apparently they gave the Romans quite a bit of trouble, the Roman legions. A lot of tribes did, a lot of the Celtic and Germanic tribes did, for sure. Bohemia, okay, so that's where, oh no, the Main River, okay, where's that? Oh, central western Germany, okay, so that's where they originally lived and then they migrated. All right. Yeah, I had quite a bit of that. Okay, Belgic Soissonnes. They would have been a mix of Celtic and Germanic tribes that lived in no, not northeastern France and Belgium, and I think southwestern Belgium. You have the Franks, and the matches I got connected to the Franks. By the way, for those who don't know, France was named France by the Franks, but before the Franks, you had the Gallo-Celts, or the Celts who lived in Gaul. So before France was named France, it used to be called Gaul. That's where majority of my deep dive matches comes from. But the Franks, some of that match would also be connected to the Lombards, and the Lombards they came further north from Scandinavia, and when they were settling south into northeastern or North Italy in a place called Lombardia today, Lombardy, it was said that there was a time where they were fighting the Vandals, and so a lot of the women communed with Freya, one of the Norse goddesses, and she told them to tie their hair like beards. So they did that, and when Odin, the Norse god, saw that, I guess he gave them favor in defeating the Vandals. So I think that's kind of a neat story. Okay, and then we got the Gallo-Celtic Adui. That's another Gallo-Celtic tribe. Um, and I like the name Badui because it sounds like my name. Some people call me Louis. So, then we got the Cenomani, which is another Gallo-Celtic tribe or Gallic Celtic tribe that lived in northern Italy. And they looked, and some of them had druids that reminded me a lot of, like they wore similar, some of them wore similar white robes like the Greek pagans do in Greece, and there's most likely a connection there. Got the Gallo-Romans, which are a mixture of Roman and, well, mainly Gauls adapting some Roman customs. The Visigoths, they had come from Scandinavia, settled in um, Spain. I think that's how Castile and Leon was founded. You got the Quadi, which is I think a Germanic tribe, the Gepids, and then the Gepids were said to have come from Scandinavia. The White Croat is just I prefer saying Scalaveni. I know some people like the word Slavic, but I don't like using that word so much. And I know people were going to say, well, how about Eskimo? And I would say, okay, I understand what you mean. But Slavic, and I'll see if I can get this right, because I know there are some people that are very proud to be that ethnic group, and that's okay. Um, but it means, let's see, I think it means like glory or something. Look. Yeah, Slava, glory, fame, or renown. Okay. So the reason why I tend not to, at least I myself, even though I'm alright with Eskimo, like he who ties snowshoes, this word would have eventually have been connected to the origin of the word slave, because there were a lot of Slavs that were, I'm trying to remember, uh, yeah, so yeah, Khazars, Vikings, other groups. You can see that they were, it wasn't a good time for them. Um, yeah, so it's the Khazars. Yeah, you can see the Slavic people were Skaloveni, also fought against Avars for a time. But you can see it really didn't become brutal until the time of the Khazars later on. Um, okay, and so yeah, so Skaloveni, um, yeah, so the name Skaloveni was used by the Byzantine Empire to refer to the Slavic people. Its connection, Slavic word slovo, meaning word, and it's a word of Greek and Latin origin. I prefer, yeah, Scalaveni more, or there's another word called Venetti, which I also like, Venetti. Um, Now this would be connected to northwestern France and Gaul. Uh, this might be more connected to the Celts, but yeah, at least I have to look. Uh, yeah, Vistula Venetti. Yeah, I prefer that. Either Venetti or Scalaveni. But no, again, it's like the Eskimo. Like I'm fine with Eskimo because it can also mean he who ties snowshoes. And I know some people are fine saying Slavic until they're blue in the face or all that. But I just personally prefer saying Scalaveni. So, okay. So and then you got the Frisians, and the Frisians were a group that had they were said to have influenced Old English, that it was closer to Old English than Old Saxon. They were said to live in the coastal regions of Netherlands and Germany. Then you got the Vascones, which is also another word for cojones, which means balls in Spanish. Like you have the balls to do something. And they would have been related to the Spanish Basque. Also got a connection to the Aquitani, which is French Basque, close to French Basque. Roman Hispania would be connected to the time when some of the Romans would begin settling Spain. There would be a mixture of Greek, I guess Roman, and maybe even Celtic a little bit. Um, the Etruscans or the Etrusci, they were a group in Italy, one of the original groups there, even more Romans, I think. Then the Unites, I'd have to look a little bit more at that. archaeological culture at the start of the Central European Bronze Age, located Central Czech Republic, Slovakia. Okay. And then there was also Burgundy, which was a tribe that lived in Burgundy, France. Wasn't that right? Or Burgundia. Um, then the Ottomans would be connected to the Turkic empires. And then the Celtic Bretons were a group that was connected. They were a group that inhabited Great Britain from the Iron Age, the Roman and sub-Roman periods until the arrival of the Anglo-Saxons. Well, they were still there. It's not like they disappeared from the face of the planet, but they spoke common Brythonic, the ancestor of Welsh, Cornish, and Breton. And yeah, they're connected to the Celts. And I was listening to a song from France that I think was connected to the Bretons and spoke to me. Then there's also the Iberians, which were one of the original groups that lived in Spain. Why it was called Iberia. I guess I have a small connection to the Vandals too. So somehow, even though I have ancestry related to the Lombards, that fought the Vandals, somehow they found a way into my ancestry too. Um, then we got it's getting a little bit smaller here. See, Koni is really, I have some ancestors related to Old Sea the Iceman, and they were said to have been a group related to indigenous Sicilians, but genetically Old Sea was most related to not Siberians, Sardinians. And then we have the Cantabrians. The Cantabrians were a group that lived in Cantabria, Spain. Some believe they were also a Celtic tribe as well. Um, so they lived around this area. Yeah, strong. Yeah, Cantabrians' reverence for certain trees like the yew and oak and the associated folklore also aligns with broader Celtic traditions. Um, and then you have the Celtic goddess Epona. And then for those who don't know who Epona is, well, she's a horse in Legend of Zelda, but she's also a Celtic goddess as well. So here's an image. She would have been a Celtic goddess in much of what would have been known as Gaul. Okay. Oh yeah, and then I have another Celtic tribe. So it would have been the Celtic. Oops, my bad. I think there's another tribe in either Britain or Ireland. It may not seem like a lot, but it is there. It is there. And let's see. Okay, so they were in the East Midlands region of Britain during the Iron Age. Their most notable legacies are coinage, particularly the gold and silver satyrs, provide valuable insights to social structure, farmers. Kurel Tavi. Kurel Tavi. Inhabited East Midlands Leicestershire, Nottinghamshire, Lincolnshire, Yorkshire. Oh, there it is. I knew someone from York. Very friendly towards me, which is nice.
Oriole toffee.
Ugh, I don't like that. Just the way she said it. It's kind of like how there's videos of of British English woman when and I feel bad because I was born in the U.S. but there's video of another American going there and she would say words that would upset her. So instead of saying like Plymouth, she would say like Plymouth. Ugh, I don't like saying that. It's horrible, but yeah. All right, so I covered all the different groups, and I want to show you guys. I got some trophies here. Got some Celtic healer. Got trophies with Gallo-Celtic tribes that lived in France. Fortunately, there's no pictures of them yet. So hopefully, eventually there are. And this person would have been related most closely to Spanish Galicia, which is northwest Spain. Say it's one of the homeland of the Celts. French, Portuguese. Portuguese. For those who don't know, I believe the Romans had named it Portugal because it meant port of the Gauls or port of the Gauls for later the Celts. Flemish, which would be in Belgium. South Dutch, Catalonia, which is eastern Spain. Castile Leon, the Extremadura. And so you can see a match with Gallo-Celtic Sequini, the Adui, the Swasiones, the Batavi, which is a Germanic tribe in the Netherlands, and then of course you also have the Gauls, or I guess that just says like Gauls in general, not just specific tribes. You can see they're not too far away from the Welsh and Southwest English. I remember one time I had my Welsh friend Ben. Uh, I don't know why he used to say Walish. His mum, who was born in Wales, she said, "We're not Walish, we're Welsh." But I enjoyed spending time with them. Ben was one of my best friends going to school, and always had a great time with him. Okay, and it just says here I'm the eighth top match this sample. Just means out of everyone who's gotten to deep dive for this test, it seems like I'm one of the closest people, or I'm the number eighth closest. I don't want to be inbred now, but it just shows that I'm genetically close to that person, or to that person who lived during that time. Because my ancestry is pretty close to Spanish, French, South Dutch, and all that. The Flemish too. Yeah, and that would have been in France, in an area. See, I'm not the most versed in the geography of France as much. Uh, but let me see. See if I can get it. I think when they say that, it might be a misspelling. It might be this area. You see, it's kind of uh, like in southwestern central France. Um, that could be one of the places. Now, the Sequani were said to have mainly lived in the valley of the Doubs and the Judah Mountains in the Iron Age. So the Judah Mountains would have been close to Switzerland. Um, Maybe that's why I got a whole bunch of quote unquote Swiss German ancestry that could be part of it, potentially, because they say the Swiss tend to be genetically closer to the Celts than the Germans are. No offense to them, by the way, because I have an uncle named Herman, but um, but there are some Germanic or matches from southern Germany that that would also be Celtic, but they would have also been closer to the Spanish and Portuguese too at the time. Okay. And here you can quickly see different haplogroups on Barclay, which was said to have been influential Scotland for a time. As Fame, at least from what I've read. See a lot of difference. I think this was connected to the French, connected to Louis. Okay, and then here you can see again Spanish Galicia. You can see Gallo Celts, Theodui. Um, yeah, I'm gonna see if I can get this one for you guys. It's not the Louis you're thinking of that during the French Revolution. Actually, my dad's partner Julie got that one. I didn't get it specifically. Let's see. Okay, so this would have been cadet branch of the Capitan. Sounds like Capitan, like in Spanish, like captain. Uh, it was founded by Robert I, Count of Roux. I'm not perfect at French, so apologies for that. Son of Louis the Sixth of France. I'll have to see what he's known for. Just that name, Louis the Fat. It's funny. Was known for effectively ruling France by restoring royal authority. Successfully resisted English expansion and secured the marriage of his heir to Eleanor of Aquitaine. Oh, so that would be connected to the also French Basque as well. Because Aquitaine, that would have been where I think that would have been that's now where the French Basque live. Yeah, just that name. Yeah, but I think that means is it being capped? Captain? No, no, wait. Yeah, Capitan. Yeah, Capitana. Yeah. Well, there you go. It's number 10 for that. And then I got number 3 this match. Again, you can see, again, close connection with Spain, French. This one was not too far as well. This one was more Spanish. French Basque. Really close to this individual. Oh yeah, and then I got this one. And I think my British, English, Welsh friend Naffy is probably going to be happy when she sees this because she would sometimes say we're cousins, and it makes sense now, or it makes even more sense now. There's more credibility. Now the funny thing is, There is Celtic here. There is. But there's also the Vandals. I remember I told you the story of the Lombards and the Vandals fighting each other. So somehow, some way, it still got into my ancestry. But it's okay, because they also have Celtic as well in Alemania. That's how you say Germany in Spanish, Alemania. They were, I guess, Germanic tribe or confederation in Germany. Saxon and Rugi. When I think Rugi, I think of Bjorn from Norway. But they would be related most closely to the modern day Welsh, Orcadian. Sounds a lot like Orkney, like one of the islands in Scotland. It was more influenced by the Norse, or the Shetland Isles as well. Southwest English, Southeast English, Irish, West Scottish, North Dutch, and West Norwegian. So yeah, got a trophy for this one. Apparently, it's related to House Clinton. Still see his connection to Spain. You could definitely see more of a shift towards North Dutch and West Norwegian and all that. I have to see. It was Orkney or Shetland Isles, more Norse, because I know that the Norse went to different areas. Yeah, Shetland it is stronger, more visible Norse presence. Well, there you go. The Vandals. No. It's all right though. I guess we've made up the Lombards and the Vandals have made up at least in a way. My website or the website has. I think it, this is one reason why I have to be careful sometimes with this website because especially when I try to how do you say it? Um, when you click for more descriptions, especially when it has this many descriptions, sometimes it can freeze a little bit. So, so let me read them. The Vandals were a large Germanic tribe that migrated from southern Scandinavia and first appeared in southern Poland around 120 before Common Era. Around 400 Common Era, raids by the Huns forced the Vandals to migrate westward into the Iberian Peninsula. Okay, makes sense. Then they established a kingdom in North Africa, Sicily, Corsica, Sardinia, Malta, and the Balearic Islands. Eventually, in 455, the term Vandal became synonymous with the sacking and looting Rome. Vandals had white. That's an interesting way to say it. White bodies and fair hair, considered tall and handsome to look upon as per Roman historians, Byzantine historians. 533, the Byzantines fought to reconquer the Vandal territory in North Africa. In Iberia, some Vandal women married Byzantine soldiers, were shipped back to, others were shipped back to Constantinople, absorbed into the imperial army. Some were able to move back to Spain. Okay, so they had also a connection to Spain. The good old Vandals. Oh well. We'll make a truce this time. The Alemanni literally translates to all men, also known as Swabia or Confederation of Germanic Tribes on the Upper Rhine River. The Roman historian Cassiodeo first describes the Alemanni during Emperor Caracollas or Caracollas campaign and portrays them as victims of the treacherous Roman Emperor. Using a pretext of peace, the Romans colorized the land and executed warriors. As a result, Alemanni engaged in conflicts with Rome and launched a major invasion of Gaul and northern Italy. Not surprised. 366, they crossed the frozen Rhine in large numbers to invade Gallic provinces, but were thwarted by Emperor Valentine. Follow-up invasion of 406 led to the Alemanni conquering, settling large parts of Alsace, which is like northeastern France, Switzerland. By the time that the Alemanni fought alongside the Huns in 451, the Franks had become powerful enough to be counted as allies of the Romans. Franks united under the reign of the first king Clovis I, which led the Franks in conquering the pagan Alemanni, which effectively expanded the boundaries of Gaul. The Alemanni continued to expand under Frankish rule. Assimilated today, the word for Germany in many modern-day languages is Allemagne. I think that may not be French. Allemagne. Alemania, though, is Spanish for sure. All right, so let's get to the Celts. We've covered the Vandals and the Alemanni. That's all fine and dandy. But let's get to the Celts. The Cotovelloni. Okay, Cotovellani. Were a tribe of formidable warriors and shrewd traders who thrived in what is now southeastern England during the Iron Age and early Roman periods. Renowned for their fierce resistance against Roman invasions, they were led by charismatic leaders like Carathacus and Tassiobanus, whose military prowess became legendary. The tribe was not only battle-hardened but also economically savvy. Controlling sounds like me. People always say I trade. Controlling lucrative trade routes that link them to the broader European continent, like the Catavellani, were archaeological innovators as well, constructing sophisticated hill forts like the impressive stronghold at Vidomoin, modern St. Albans, showcased their wealth and organizational skills. Their society was rich in culture, featuring intricate metalwork and coinage that have distinctive designs, symbolizing their tribal identity prowess. The name Cataloni stems from the Celtic word "catto", combat, and Ulelani chiefs. They're likely related to the Cataluni Belgic. It sounds like Catalonia, really, like the Spanish Catalonia. Tribe which was based in the modern Champagne region. I think that's France. All right. I went over these Celtic matches I got quite a bit. Went through that. Okay, and then there were some new ones I got. I think sometimes I can't without the pictures too. Like it's a little bit harder to sometimes um, see which ones I went through already. Hopefully in time they'll get. It's probably because they're really new as well. You can see here Welsh, Southeast. Again, it depends who they mixed with. Some would be closer, some would be a little bit further away. It just depends who they mixed with. They were definitely a motley crew. All right. Welsh, Southeast English. There it is. And of course, there will be some with Irish as well. Um, I think the Irish were more influenced by the Norse than they let on, to be honest. Just like the Scottish. then I guess some of the English and Welsh, especially some of the English, not as only Anglo-Saxon as I think, which not a bad thing. Want to be inbred, you know? Like, no, I'm only Anglo-Saxon. Not now. I know that's how my dad's partner, Julie, friend, was really good, but she's gotten better. See here, it's very close. So, here's Bohemia. Closest match is to Welsh. There's Makramani. Oops, my bad. Very close to Galicia as well. Catalonia. And here's the Avars I spoke to you about. And what's interesting about the Avars, it seems like paternal lineage was a big thing for them. I almost feel like that their lineage, paternal lineage, it was either, kind of related in my mind to like, because E1B1B is also found in like ancient Egyptians, and then if you go E1B, 1B, 1B, that's Amazigh, Berber, indigenous North Africans. But yeah, it seems like they either had that or they had like a J2B, 2B, J2B2 lineage connected to really a lot of the Mycenaean Greeks and Trojans, which would go back to the Age of Heroes, like with Hector and Hector of Troy, and then Achilles and all that. And then you can see that here the close connection with Greece, or modern day Greece more so, because really the Mycenaean Greeks actually were closer to Spanish and to Portuguese, North Italian. I guess they were able to keep that original lineage a little bit more because they weren't in Greece during the time of the Avars. So I guess a lot of the Greeks, modern day Greeks, would have mixed with the Avars. So I guess makes sense. But really, if you look at the paternal lineage, it's all connected anyways because Greece has a lot of E1B, 1B as well, a fair amount. Then J2B, J2B2 as well. So it's almost like they went around in a circle and then they came back. At least the fathers, it looks like. Except when I guess when they had come, they were more so related to Asians because I'll show you later. But if you see a lot of the original Avar maternal lineage, it's related to like Northeast Asians. I've mentioned the Tungzuk, and then some even East Asian, like the Japanese. Or when I mean Japanese, I mean the modern Japanese, their predominant lineage is maternal haplogroup D or D4, and some of them had that as well. That was also the match that my dad got as well with the match from Montana, D4, because that would have been also an original lineage to Japan, even well before Yayoi and Kolfin. So I guess the mothers, were always connected to Jomon and Yayoi and Kolfin. The fathers a little bit different, but at least the mothers, they always had a connection of some sort. And yeah, now I know my dad. He's always, aside from Belgium, he's always talking about Ashkenazi this, Ashkenazi that. The only so this one's a little bit hard because some people say that the Ashkenazi came from like Khazars, which were I think also of Central Asian origin. But I think they were genetically different than the Avars. They might have had shared East Asian, Northeast Asian ancestry, maybe, but I think the Avars were more Northeast Asian, and the Khazars were a little bit different. And I told you too about the Khazars that they didn't play so nice with the Skelaveni, um, and not saying all Khazars were like that, but you can see it wasn't necessarily the prettiest of sights. Let's see here. Yeah, so they were said to be a Turkic people, Central Caucasus, Central Asia. Yeah, so this one, they're probably connected in some way, but East Asian Siberian, no, oops, my bad. East Asian Siberian nomadic group who established the Avar cognates shows a strong connection between early Avar elites and Northeast Asians. Remember, I told you about Roni Kenshin, and even the Paleo Eskimos or people who settled Greenland. They were pretty closely related to them. Um, honestly, um, yeah. So Khazars, Turkic, Avars, Northeast Asia, connection to the Rowan. So whenever I think of the Avars or the Rowan or Rironi, it makes me think of Seven Samurai. It's a film I thoroughly enjoy. Not an easy time during that period, but yeah. Okay. So this kind of shocked me a little bit, but at the same time it did and it didn't. Because I know I2A1. See, this lineage I call kind of like it could be Thracian, it could be Paleo-Balkan. Some people try to attribute it to Scalaveni, but Scalaveni to me is more R1A. To me, this would be more like Paleo-Balkan or also related to the eventually would have been related to the Norse because I1, which is more so the Norse lineage, split off from I2 a few thousand years ago. But it seems here, this man here would have been related to the South Polish, Croatian, Ukrainian, Slovenian, Russian, Hungarian. But his Y-DNA lineage, if you look at it, it really matches a lot of the Celtic or Gallo-Celtic matches I was getting. So let me see if I can get it. Might have to go a little bit further back. So yeah, so well, let me see if I because it's just like the J2B lineage as well. That this looks like a YouTuber right now. Yeah, so it goes back to I2A1A. I'd have to see where that comes from, that original lineage. I think it was also found in like Mesolithic Scandinavia before I1. Glacial maximum. Found in all Western Europe. Maximum in Sardinians and the Basque. Megalithic cultures. So, especially in the Balkans. Also Sardinia. Connected to Highland Scottish. Scottish clans. Clan Barclay I mentioned before. So yeah. So not R1A. Because R1A is a lineage some people like they like to throw around and they say, look at us. Not saying that anything wrong per se for R1A because it is connected to R1B and then paternal lineage of a lot of the Turks and the natives, Q1A, Q1B, but it's important to show them that's, well, the original lineage, original connection. Um, yeah, and they also see Lithuanian, Finnish, and all that. See if I can... But yeah, and so I got this one as well from France. Gaul, so-called Gaul at the time. Be most related to the modern day Welsh, French, Flemish, Southwest English, South Dutch, West German, Southeast English, and Spanish Galicia. There's the we're cousins. Don't want to be, don't want to be inbred though. There's Irish, West Scottish, accordion, not too far away. Okay. And this man would have been related to the Celtic Dabuni. Dabuni were a Celtic tribe, central Britain, whose capital was located in Chester, the largest town in the Cotswolds. They were primarily farmers and craftsmen living in small villages in fertile valleys. Roman historian Dio Caesius first mentions them by name, and they were described as a non-warlike tribe who capitulated to the Romans. Oh boy, easily adopted a Romano-British lifestyle. That their goddess was named Kuda, associated with the Cotswolds hills and in its rivers and springs. They were also known to be one of the local tribes who issued coins before the Roman arrival. Yeah, so this also reminds me of an anime I watched called Agent Magus Bride, which I love, and I think one of the towns they were in was in Cotswolds. Yeah, I think Elias Ainsworth. It's interesting to see all these connections, eh? Okay, Cotswolds, Agent Magus Bride. Oh no, sorry about that. HMAgus Bride, Elias's house is located in the Cotswolds, a region English countryside, specifically west of London. Yeah, so there it is. So I guess I was related to a tribe that's inhabited that area, or at least the admixture seems to point that out. Um, Olsi, I think, was a sounds like my grandma, mama has a dog named Olsi. Whenever I see that, I think of the dog Olsi. Yeah, I think the Olsi tribe, they were I think they were a Celtic tribe, but then they went to the Germanic world of like more. Okay, I got another match here. Iron Age Breton, Cambridgeshire. Then here's, well, this one's really close to Irish, very close. Funnily enough, this is funny. Well, funny and not so funny. So, as they said, the Southeast English are genetically closer to Anglo-Saxons than Southwest and Welsh. I have a friend named Lena. She says she's 40% Irish and her mother was 80% Irish. And she says, I'm Irish, I'm Irish, I'm Irish. And then she pulls out the British English accent, the which I think is to me it's like so classic. And even though Broy and Matthew are like we don't say it like that, but she'll say, "Mr. Morales, can you get me a bottle of water?" Or something like that. I think I'm a little bit better now, but still nowhere near her level. And then I tell her, you say you're so Irish, but sound quite English to me. And she said, I'm becoming the people I hate. But I have some, well, sort of good news. That there was a time where the Irish and Southeast English were actually not that genetically different. The West Scottish too. I don't see the Welsh here, and they say the Welsh were one of the original people in Britain and also connection to Ireland. Um, but you can see here there's different Celtic tribes. There's the Gaels, which a lot of people associate with some of the Irish. A Celtic Parsi was a Celtic tribe that was in France. Celtic Brigantes is connected to the Celtic goddess Brigid, the hearth. Um, the Gaels were also said to have been connected to the um, Tua de Danann. Yes, that is in Irish mythology or folklore. And then the Miletians were the ones who had, or some say the Miletians were the Goidels or the Goidelic or the Gaels who had come to Ireland through the Miletians, and that would come from the Span of Spain, native to Ireland, Scotland, Isle of Man. Yeah, they were said to have descended. So there's probably more to the story there, but that's at least part of it. I only say that because I have also a lot of Gallo-Celtic matches. Even though the Irish professor said that the Miletians might have come before, I guess they would have been the quote unquote Celts before the Celts, or they were the Gauls before the Gauls, or well, I kind of challenge that a little bit, but we'll see. I think there's more to the story. Anyways, the Coral Tavi were largely agricultural Celtic people in the East Midlands of England. They were a federation of self-governing tribal groups, began producing inscribed coins with 2 to 3 names on them at a time, suggesting multiple rulers. Later coins featured the High Kings, the region, along with 3 sub-kings. The South they offered little resistance to Roman rule. The capital of Crotone, modern Leicester, was captured by the Romans in 440 AD and held a Roman garrison. It bordered the Brigantes to the north, Ebony and Lani south, and the Iceni to the east. There were villages consisting of round huts surrounded by banks and ditches. The land had large deposits of ironstone and had significant salt production produced from seawater. Alright, and then I told you about the Paris a little bit. Paris. I wonder if they had any influence with the attitude of some of the modern day people who live in Paris other than the Franks. Not sure. The Celtic Parsy were a powerful tribe located in East Yorkshire and considered by many historians to be related to the Parsy tribe of Gaul. They shared customs. This includes large cemeteries, including chariot burials and sword burials. They were a distinctive group of people who farmed the chalk hills of the Yorkshire wolds. They wore British-style ornament and crafted British-style pottery, but kept separate from their large, powerful neighbors such as the Brigantes. Their graves were divided by social class, with some warrior graves containing elaborate swords crafted with raised inlays made of enamel, horn, antler, and ivory. The Brigantes, oh, they also, okay, I didn't know that. I don't know why I thought they lived in Ireland. Maybe there was a migration. Tradition, the Brigantes were the largest Celtic tribe in Britain. The name stems from the Proto-Celtic word as goddess Dantia, meaning elevator prestige. Perhaps they saw themselves as Highlanders living in elevated fortification along the Pennines during the Roman conquest of Britain. Queen Carta led the Brigantes and formed a large agglomeration that was loyal to Rome. She became incredibly wealthy when she crossed Britain after helping Emperor Claudius defeat the Welsh tribes. Oh boy. Her husband, Vettius divorced and led a series of revolts against her and Rome rule. Eventually, Karti Bandui and Dua appealed for troops from the Romans who could only offer auxiliaries, successfully evacuated her, leaving Venutius in control of a kingdom at war with Rome. It took decades for the Romans to subjugate the Brigantes. Thought Hadrian's Wall was built to prevent them from joining with the Sculptures tribes at the other side. Well, there it is. I'll talk a little bit about the Petra Baptiste as well. Pretty close to Spain and the Spanish Basque, western region. I think I saw a match with this tribe also from Spain as well. Some matches. Antri a Belgic tribe originating in Gaul, migrated to Britain, boasted a remarkable realm that stretched from modern Hampshire through the Berkshire and possibly Surrey. The power centre in Silchester, known as Caleva Etrabum. The tribe brought with them from continental Europe advanced Iron Age technology and artistic styles, evident in the coinage, known for its intricate designs and that are considered some of the finest in ancient Britain. Antribates were led by dynamic rulers like Commius, former ally of Julius Caesar, established this powerful dynasty after performing political intrigues in Gaul. Society was highly organized with a structured settlement pattern that included fortified towns and sophisticated agricultural systems indicating well-developed political structure. Engaging in both conflict and diplomacy, the Antribates played a pivotal role in the turbulent power dynamics of Iron Age Britain, navigating alliances and rivalries with neighboring tribes of the expanding Roman Empire. Alright, there it is. It's a lot. But I try my best to explain it. There's the mayonnaise. I had a Serbian friend one time. I think he was a German immigrant who was born in Serbia. One time he told me that he felt I had some Serbian blood because I liked mayonnaise, which I thought was funny. So here's the Avar here, but see here some it seems like we're more related to Greeks. Now this one seems to be more related to Asian, or at least your Central Asian. Afghan, Turkmen, Uzbek from Uzbekistan, country in Central Asia. The Bashkirs, I'm probably butchering some of that. Bashkirs were Turkic ethnic group, modern day Russia, but can also be found Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. Look like that. I was never a fan of. I know some of the Celts did it too, but I was never a fan of only having a mustache and not a beard. I know some people are fine with that, but I always preferred having both. They're also related to the Tatars. Whenever I think of Tatars, I think of Tyranitar from Pokemon. I don't know why. Yeah, here are the Tatars. There's a YouTuber from Russia who's did videos about the Tatars, and she says they're not related to tartar sauce. You know, this actually, I never thought about it like this, but um, my friend Joe, he says he's part Apache and Jewish and what else? German and English or a bit of Scottish and Irish. Apache is a Native American tribe, by the way. But the Tatar in this image looks so much like his sister, like very similar. Maybe she has some ancestry connected to him. Maybe through the Apache, but also something else, potentially. Um, then here's another tribe. Goy. Nagai. Nogai. You can see like a lot of Central Asian, but really, because I think the Central Asians were more of a mix of like East Asian, Northeast Asian, but also a little bit of West Eurasian. And I guess they even influenced like the Greeks, because I guess they went over there. And then Volga Ashkenazi. That to me, they might have just been more influenced by Northeast Asians. Then Hakka, shore people. Also, the natives have also similar admixture because they would have also mixed with the same people pretty much, or same or very similar. Like here, I can definitely see the natives for sure. I guess they went everywhere. They didn't just go to Hungary, they also went to the Americas. So, okay, got a match here. Lower Saxony, Germany. Edie whatever that is. It's a lot. I wasn't expecting the. I mean, I wasn't expecting the Avars either. It's, it's quite a bit. I had a friend, or was an old friend, or someone I knew. She actually really kind of inspired me to research more about my ancestry, and her name was Athena. But but there was something in my back of my mind that said she looks like she could be part Hungarian, or maybe aside from being Greek from the Age of Heroes, she might have had some like maybe she was also related to the Avars or someone else. I don't know. Like some Northeast Asian ancestry somehow got in. Somehow. But yeah. Okay, so that's like further north than Cleve. So my dad's grandfather, he had a grandfather named Jose Miguel Cleves, or I think also connected to Johannes, I think, or Johann, something like that. Um, and it was said they had come from Cleve, which I guess is very close to Netherlands. So here you can see a match with North Dutch, North German, Danish, Swedish, Irish, with Scottish, Norwegian, and West Norwegian. Then you can see here, oh, there's Lombards. There were before they were Lombards. They were originally Lombards, I guess. And I mentioned a little bit about the Unitas, Celts, or I mentioned a lot. So usually a lot of the Celtic matches I've seen. Also, sometimes it's also like also more Norse influenced as well. At least for that one. Not all of them, though. But the Goths, also known as Goths or Gutar, were a North Germanic tribe inhabiting the island of Gotland. Oh, I guess that's where one of the names might have come from, aside from Goth. Since ancient times, they were first recorded by a Ptolemy who refers to them as Gotai, whereas Norse sagas referred to them as Gatar. By the 7th century, the Guts made a trade and defense agreement with the Swedish kings, which enabled them to become a nation of traders and merchants, centrally located in the Baltic Sea. In fact, Gutes were the leading tradesmen in the Baltic until the rise of the Hanseatic League. The Gotha saga states how a third of the population was forced to immigrate southward to the territory of the Roman Empire. The Guts are popularly referred to as Goths. Oh, so they were referred. Okay, hold on. Make sure I got that right. Referred. Okay, that's a spelling error. Yeah, referred to as Goths. So connected. Yep. All right then. Okay, and they got another Avar. Tatars strike again. It's alright. Tyranitar strikes again. No, that's alright. I like Tyranitar. He can be a good ally for sure. But it's interesting whenever I think of Tatar, I think of Tyranitar. Yeah, Tyranitar's great though. So they would have been a mixture of Gepids, Pontic people, Pontic Caspian steppe, Avar, and the Cimmerians. They were nomadic Indo-European people who appeared around 1000 BC by means of the Caucasus, inhabited the region north of the Caucasus and Black Sea in what is now Ukraine and Russia. Cimmerians assaulted Armenia 740 before coming area, but were repulsed by Sargon, the second of Assyrians. Boy. Then they turned towards Anatolia and conquered Phrygia in 662. The Cimmerians reached their peak by conquering Sardis, the capital of Lydia. Greek city-states of Ionia and Iolus were also attacked. Eventually, the Cimmerians were routed by the Lydians, forced out of Anatolia, and reportedly settled in modern-day Armenia. Oh, so they might have went further north too then, as well, as they were going through the steppe. That's the only thing I can think of. But they have this same J2B lineage as the Age of Heroes, as the Mycenaean Greeks and Trojans. I don't know, maybe some of them over time, maybe they, well, it's closest, anyways, to, I think, Avar, let's see. But I guess when they went into Asia, they probably eventually mixed more with Asians. That's the only thing I can think of. Seem to be the closest to Kepids too. This one. There's the Lombards who had fought the Vandals. Yeah, I have a lot of the. Well, it's not like it's not like the biggest contribution to my ancestry, but I have like a lot of these little, well, not little, but a lot of different ancestries related to the Avars that seem to be consistently related to Central Asians, really Central Asians, some cases Northeast Asians. Um, but they all have the same paternal lineage as the Mycenaean Greeks and Trojans. The J2B2 being that. So it seems like they just somehow. Someone also has Ottoman here. Ottoman Empire grew to one of the most powerful states in the world during the 15th and 16th centuries. At the height, the empire encompassed most of southeastern Europe to the gates of Vienna, including present-day Hungary, Balkan region, Greece, parts of Ukraine, the Middle East, North Africa, parts of the Arabian Peninsula. The term Ottoman is a dynastic appellation derived from Osman I, the nomadic Turkmen chief, founded with the dynasty and the empire in 1300. Ottoman period spanned more 600 years and came to an end only in 1922 when it was replaced by the Turkish Republic. Oh, yeah, again, related to natives, really. Well, I mean, like in the sense that that the original lineage of part of it of Turkic would have this similar paternal lineage as the natives, so like Q1A, Q1B a little bit, especially Q1A. I think you can see how it all kind of intersects. Um, it's a lot. Maybe that's why some people in Italy sometimes they also look a bit Asian to me. I don't know if it comes from them. Maybe got the Sarmatians. A lot of steppe people in the medieval ages. But they were also going to the Americas too around a similar time. Sarmatians were a large confederation that flourished in the 5th century BCE and was related to the Scythians. They were Caucasoid in appearance, fairly tall, long hair and beards. Reportedly, many Sarmatians had reddish hair and wore long flowing robes. Interesting. They would ride horseback and throw javelins while mounted, originating in the Rhaetian steppes. They migrated westward, dominated the Scythians by 200 before Common Era. They ranged from the mouth of the Danube to the Volga, bordered the shores of the Lak and Caspian Seas, the territory known as Sarmatia, included much of Ukraine, southern Russia, parts of the Balkans. Dominance of the region ended with the arrival of the Gulfs and the Hunnic invasions. Formations were eventually assimilated into the Oh, there it is, Proto-Slavic, Proto-Sclaveni population of Eastern Europe. All right. A lot of steppe people really related to Central and Northeastern Asians. Tajikistan, Central Asian again. A lot of steppe people. A lot of steppe people. Right, now we're going back to the Belgic. Nationes. Less related to West German, Flemish, Welsh. Related to the Frisians. Dark Ages, Spain. Most related to the French Basque and Spanish Basque. Here's connection to the Iberians, Tabrians, Vascones, Iceni, Aquitani. There you go. So connection to Welsh, Irish, Scottish, not too far away. There's the word cousins. I think some of the Welsh, English, or some of the British and Irish also have some ancestry. Sometimes related to the Basque and Iberians as well. Match from Italy. There's the Etruski. Retai. We're close, not too far away. Etruski, Retai, Cinnamani, Iberian, Tani. Okay, so this was what I was just talking about. So D4J is definitely East Asian. D4 is found at one of the highest percentages in Japan, which is why I also call my dad Uncle Herman native Japanese American, because their maternal lineage, D4, H3, was migrating through Northeast Asia, Japan, Korea, Northeast China during before the Ice Age. So here you can see again a lot of Siberian, Central Asian. Yeah, Tatar. Yeah, a lot of Central Asian. But the matches I had in Greenland were definitely more like maybe more Tungsik, like the original Tungsik. Like to me, I guess what this means is the Avars, they probably became more quote unquote Central Asian as they went west because they mixed with West Eurasian populations. That's probably why they're more related to Central Asian because when they went west, those would have been the people they mixed with. And I guess some had gone east the other way. They had mixed with the natives. Okay. Yeah, there's Uyghurs, Tatars, Sakas. Okay, so I mentioned those. Some of the natives also have that ancestry. Chuvash, I think I had a little bit of that on one test. Colville, that's that's a tribe that lives very close to me in northeastern Washington. They're Native American tribe. So I guess they wouldn't have been that far apart. You see, I don't know, like when I get these Avar matches, if it's pulling from native ancestry or ancestry before natives or a mixture of both. It kind of, just comes together really. Um, the Chuvash people, I think they're more so Finno-Uric. I remember on my test I had a bit of like Finnish ancestry. It's amazing how far the Asians, the East Asians, Northeast Asians, how far they traveled, and how many people they mixed with. Never really think about it that much, but I think it's because out of all the groups, I think the Spanish were the ones that were really I don't want to say the least affected, but I think most of most other parts of Europe were more affected, especially as you went further east. But I guess you can see it with the natives that a lot of them have um, this these admixtures too. So I know a lot of people when they go they think a lot of the Mexicans are predominantly Spaniards or predominantly Spanish origins from Spain until they realize a lot of them are also predominantly Native Americans. Also probably mixed with also tribes who came later too. Saka were a group of nomadic people who inhabited the northern eastern Eurasian steppe and formed parts of a wider Scythian culture. Related to the previous Andronova culture, their language formed part of Scythian languages. They were encountered by the Babylonians, Egyptians, ancient Greeks, Persians, Chinese, as well as by the people of the Indian subcontinent, where they were known as Indo-Scythians. Sakas also invaded the Parthenon Empire, parts of China. Greek historians record how the Saka overran Bactria, taking the place of the Greeks. They're known to wear trousers and tall, stiff caps, rising to a point, and would carry bowls, daggers to a battle, and a battle axe known as the Sagarus. Yeah, they went everywhere. That's the only thing I can think of. They went everywhere. Got another match with Anderton, Germany, Hanover. That's close to northern Germany. Here you can see connection to or, or, Orcodian, Orcodian, Orkney. Oh, yeah. West Norwegian, North Dutch, South Scottish, Danish, or Irish, Norwegian, Southeast English. Here you can see the Lombards, Celts, Swabi, and I'll have to read a little bit more about them. Swabi were large Germanic people originating from the Elbe River region, first mentioned by Julius Caesar, connection with the invasion of Gaul. They had been moving southward aggressively at the expense of Gallic tribes and established a Germanic presence in the immediate area north of the Danube. Tacitus described them as the most warlike of the Germanic tribes. One group of Suebi under King Metic worked their way to the south of France, crossing the Pyrenees and entered the Iberian Peninsula, which was free of Roman rule, settled in Galatia, northwestern Iberia. So Galicia, really? Wow. The Chassi, that's not right. The Chassi were an ancient Germanic tribe living in the low-lying region between the rivers Elbe and Ems. The Chassi inhabited the continental Europe, coast from Zuiderzee to South Jutland, along with the nearby Frisians, Saxons, and Angles. However, the Chelsea in particular made peace with the Romans and in fact provided Roman auxiliaries to serve all over the limes bordered between the Roman Empire and Germania. Tacitus describes the Chelsea homeland as immense, densely populated and well stocked with horses. He described them as the noblest of the Germans, preferring justice to violence, rather aggressive, not predatory, but ready to war if the need arose. Pliny the Elder visited the Chelsea coastal region, said they lived on the barren coast in small cottages and huts on hilltops. They fished for food, had no cattle, and drank rainwater. He says they had a spirit of independence and resent for anyone who attempted to conquer them. Oh, and there's the Angles. No, that's before they were Anglo-Saxons. The Angles were a Germanic tribe who inhabited a land called Angelus. I think that's where England got its name. The province between Jutes and Saxons. I wonder if they also are called Joltes. Located between southern Denmark and northern Germany, mentioned by Ptolemy and Tacitus, they were described boarding the Lombards and Senones, or Senones. They're known by the Romans as inaccessible and attacks. They lived behind ramparts, rivers, and woods. Pope Gregory first writes about seeing Angle children he once saw in a Roman market as having angelic faces who should the coheirs of the angels in heaven. Around the 5th century AD, the Angles migrated to Britannia and founded the kingdoms of Northumbria, East Anglia, and Mercia. Angle kingdom fell in the great assault by the Danish Viking armies of the 9th century and became subjects of the Danelaw. The Saxon kings of Wessex eventually defeated the Danes and liberated the Angles. They united the royal houses with those of the Angles, and the old Anglo-Saxon world thus ended. The dawn of the English people began. Some Angles made Anglis, which is called Anglia today. Oh, well there you go. Celtic people, Angles. Oh, this just tells you where they lived. Saxon shoots. You don't see much of a Spanish admixture. I think if they were more like they were more almost not even Germanic, but even almost more Scandinavian in some instances. It seemed to be closer to Germanic people, but if they were more Celtic, then they were closer to the Spanish. Makes sense. Because really, a lot of the Gallo-Celtic matches I had from the Iron Age were very close to Spanish. And there's the Avar again, and then this is C4 lineage related to Tungzek, the Tungzek people. And again, I know a lot of people don't know what that means, but I think I've explained it well enough. Hopefully that it makes sense. I know my dad would say they're Asian. Yeah, Northeast Asian related to Invix. Shore people, which also natives are related to them too. Native Americans. Maybe in Japanese have this lineage. Uh, Koreans a little bit stronger. But even some Japanese do as well, yeah, maternal lineage. Which, here they're related more so to Romanian, Macedonian, Bulgarian, Serbian. It just shows you how interconnected they became over time. I never really fully realized that. I guess in Spain it was different. But I guess a lot of the Spanish, when they went to the New World, they mixed with the natives anyways, so they just went the other direction. They went west instead of, well, they went to the New World instead of going to, instead of the Asians coming to the Europeans came to the Asians or to the natives. You can see also very close connection. Yeah, I never really understood. Yeah, now it makes sense. Numbers again. But they really came from Northeast Asia, is really the linchpin there. Yeah. This might be connected maybe to my great grandfather, maybe. Sure. Visigoth Burgundies. Frankish Gallo. Yeah, that's a lot. They really came through Europe. This was even before the Magyars and the Mongols. Yeah, the Japanese and the especially when they were fighting the Mongolian legions or the Mongol legions under Kublai Khan, they were able to successfully defend Japan. But I'm thinking the Avars are probably related more so to the Northeast Asians connected to the Yayoi that added to the Japanese ancestry when they were fighting those legions. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe that's why Japan is so, because when they usually write about Europe, it's always medieval ages. It's usually they do a few things before, but it's always medieval. And maybe that's one reason. Maybe they feel more of a connection during the medieval ages because of that shared ancestry that eventually came through Northeast Asians. That's the only thing I can think of. There's C again. Yeah, it's a lot of the same. They're Ottomans. That is so interesting. I would have I just didn't realize how much of an impact, they had. Yeah. There's Belgium, Proto-Aurelian. There's the Aurelians, closer to the Age of Heroes. There's J2B as well, but this would have been closer. Original history. I don't know if I saw this one before. So I2A1 Ostrogoths. Oh, there's the Goths. There's the what's it? Ostrogoths, the Goths, the Scythians, they're Sclaveni, White Croats, Western. Yeah, so the Ostrogoths have said the Visigoths and Ostrogoths were both said to have come from Scandinavia or Gotland, but the Visigoths were said to have settled in Spain during medieval ages, and then Ostrogoths in Italy during that time as well. Yeah. Wow, it's so interesting, isn't it? Yeah, this is all kind of new to me, this part. Maybe that's why some Europeans or some even European Americans, even if they don't have any native ancestry, they look so Asian to me, or not even just Asian, but also Mongolian. Like Joe, my friend Joe had an ex-girlfriend named Iris, and she had pale skin, uh, you know, red hair and all that, but she almost looked like Mongolian to me. But I don't know if that might have also have come after the Avars. I'm not so sure, but it's interesting to think about. It could have even come through the Magyars, or like I'd have to see, like, did Mongolians settle in Hungary? Because if they did, then that's another connection. Right? Humans. Again, I guess a lot of people were fighting, in Northeast Asia. Maybe. Magyar. There's something there. Yeah. Yeah, I never really fully thought about it. Yeah. Spanish Basque, French Basque, some of that. Connected to the Vascones, Cantabrian, Celtic Iberians. I think the Celtic Iberians were a mixture of Iberian and Celtic, which I guess makes sense. spoke a Celtic Iberian language using the Iberian alphabet. Engaged in battle with the Romans until 720 before Common Area. Their entire region became part of the Roman province Hispania. Okay, so that's the beginning of the Roman Hispania. The subjugated Celtic Iberians waged a protracted struggle against Roman conquerors, staging numerous uprisings. The culture combined cattle raising pastoralists with warrior elite centered in the hill forts. Iberians. And I think this is where the gladius, no, that came from the Iberians, gladius, because the Romans, I think they adopted the gladius from the Iberians. Served as mercenaries for Carthage. You can see not so far away from Southeast English, Southwest English, Welsh. There it is, we're cousins. I think I've proven my point at this rate. A lot of people will say, "Oh yeah, the Spanish have nothing to do with the Celts," and uh, time and time and again, it seems like that's being more and more disproven. Let's see a match here: Gallo-Celtic, France, Southwest France, South Dutch, Spanish, Welsh, Irish, Scottish. Again, same thing, Central Asian. It really came from Northeast. So aside from the paternal lineage, South. Greco era. Thaddeus is major ancient Greek and ancient Roman archaeological site. See a mixture here. There it is for cousins. Sardonis were pre-Indo-European people's territory was located in present-day French Roussillon, forming the border of Gaul and Iberia. They It's amazing. Legend has it that after the destruction of Troy in 1184 BCE, Trojan survivor Aeneas landed in the shores of Latium, small triangle of fertile volcanic soil located in central western Italy in which Rome would be founded. Near the mouth of the river Tiber, Aeneas and his Trojan army were conquered by King Latinus of the local Italic tribe. Latinus was defeated and accepted Aeneas as his new ally. Aeneas married his daughter Lavinia and founded the city of Lavinium on the Italian coast. Their son Scanius founded a new city, Alba Longa, in the Alban hills, which became the Latin capital city. The neighboring Etruscans, or Etrusci, allied with the Rutuli king Turnus, attacked the Latins Trojans but were repelled, including the river Tiber becoming the common border between the Etruscans and Latins. Romulus, born in Alba Longa, founded Rome in 753 before Common Era, became the first king of this capital. The Etruscans decided to suppress Rome, future threat, and a series of wars ensued, which ultimately led to the demise of the Etruscans. By 509 before Common Era, the Roman monarchy was overthrown, leading to the creation of the Roman Republic. Then the Vascones, which is where cojones comes from, considered ancestors of the present-day Basque, especially the Spanish Basque. They and related people occupied a territory spanning the Elbe River and parts of the Pyrenees. The oldest document from Rome times mentions how during the Septarian War the Romans crossed the Ebro to the flatlands of the Vascones until reaching territory of Vascones occupied present-day Navarre. That's where my mom said that my grandfather Papa, or her father, came from. His ancestors came from parts of Gepsucoya, La Roja, Zaragoza, and Huesca. There, later on, the Visigoths arrived in Iberia, reducing the territory significantly. There are numerous mentions of Vasconus and Aquitaine. Unlike the Aquitanes, and Vasconus negotiated their status in the Roman Empire during the Suetonian War. Pompey set up his headquarters in their territory in 407. Vascon troops fought with the Romans, repelling the attack by there's the Vandals. Alans and Alemanni, both Vasconus and Aquitani, were believed to have spoken a Proto-Basque language, and that is true. There it is. Yeah, they were classified as either Gallic or Iberian. Georgic culture in Sardinia had its origins here. Oh, maybe also connection to Sardinia as well. That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's amazing how they got around, eh? The horse. Seems like that's one big takeaway is the horse. A lot of horsemen. Well, there's Oldsey. A match with Bronze Age East Kent, England. Closely related to Ordian, West Norwegian, West Scottish, North Dutch, Southeast English, Norwegian Danish, Southeast English. And there's Bretons again. Not as close with the Spanish this time. Ancient Celts migrated to Britain from mainland Europe starting around 1300 before Common Era. The ancient Greek historian Pytheas first explored these islands. 330 named them the Brittonic Islands, and the people living there the Brittani, which translate to Bretons. There are two major Celtic groups were the Gauls in France, there it is, and the Gaels in Ireland. They lived within tribes without a central government and brought iron ore to the British Isles. Each tribe lived in hill forts surrounded by ditches and banks encircling defensive hilltops. The Bretons were excellent warriors who liked to cover themselves in blue paint, tattoos to give a frightening, reminds me of the Picts, give a frightening look as they fought naked. They would routinely cut off the heads of their enemies in battle and display them as trophies. Furthermore, the Bretons were excellent farmers and knew how to cultivate the rich valley and lowland soils. These insular Celts resisted the Romans for decades, but eventually were defeated. The Romans controlled Britannia until 410 Common Era, after which Anglo-Saxons, oh there it is. Into the first millennium, they had conquered most of Brythonic territory. Okay. The Vandals. They'll never leave. Oh well. Avars again, Bosnian, Serbian. But some were closer to Gallo, at least Gallo Celts, Gallo Romans, Gauls. It just depended, eh? Let's say Czech Republic, French, Flemish, Ostrogoth. Interesting, eh? Oh boy. Yeah, they really went through that area. But they're also again related to natives right here, northeastern, the inland Pacific Northwest. So they also went to the Americas. Yeah. Some of the natives also, especially in the U.S. and Canada, also rode horses. Comanche, Lakota, other native tribes. I'm not as sure further south, but that's a lot. Period. We're cousins, time and time again. Veneti, also known as Adriatic Veneti, oh, there's Veneti, were Indo-European people who inhabited northeastern, but this is before Sclaveni. Italy and ancient Veneti spoke Phonetic, which shares similarities with Latin and other Italic languages, but also some affinities with Germanic and Celtic. Territory occupied by the Veneti included modern Veneto. Ancient evidence shows they were skilled horsemen, fishermen who employed sports such as boxing and boat races. Oh, here we go. Celtic Breton gladiator York. This one, the sample's most related to the Irish, West Scottish, North German, Danish, Southeast English. Go. Oh, there's the Picts. Remember I told you about them a little bit. Celtic people first arrived in Britain in the first millennium before Common Era, divided into Brythonic, Gallic, and Pictish people who were for unknown reasons hostile to each other. Romans arrived in Britain and attempted to subjugate the territory of Caledonia, deriving from a local Pictish tribe called the Caledoni. To no avail, as the Pictish locals provided very stiff resistance. Emperor Hadrian built a fortified wall to serve as barrier between Rome and Britain and the Pictish tribes. As the Romans left, the Germanic people arrived in Britain called the Anglo-Saxons. Okay. Piclan, Scotoi, were actually from Ireland. Holds clout with the Anglo-Saxons to the south. The Gauls and Picts united to form the Kingdom of Alba, which became Scotland. There it is. Oh, this one. Holland. Orkney, West Scottish, Irish. Frisians, there we go. I told you a little bit about the Frisians. Okay, I think that's it for me. I know it was a lot, but it's worth sharing, you know? It's worth sharing the story, and there we go. We're cousins. That's all I gotta say. Uh, yeah. We're related. We're connected. That's the important thing. We are part of the Rhinebuy Arcoides. That's the most important thing. Okay. It really went through. But they're still Celtic healer. That's my most dominant match is still Celtic tribes, even after thousands of years. Oops, my bad. Did I? Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to show you my eBay page. I yeah, let's do another page. Okay, so my dad I have to see all these Avar matches because I don't know how far away they are, genetically speaking. They're probably not that close, but and again, I'm not entirely sure if it comes from the natives or pre-natives or I couldn't tell you. Maybe a mixture of both. One thing I can think of. It's probably not that close, I'd have to imagine. Let me look. Probably my dad's closer because he has more. He's more East Asian ancestry. Let's see. East Asian. Okay. Should be like. It's amazing how many different. Okay. Timeline fingerprint. Oh no, they were definitely further away. Especially when the more Asian, a good distance. Yeah, you can see this is my May match is Celtic. All right. But it's interesting to see all that, you know? All right, let's cover my dad real quick. My dad was pretty interesting. He had the Danish Downey, as I mentioned before. Got quite a bit of that. Indigenous people in North America, Avars. A little bit more than I did. Also Celtic Bretons as well. Dad got some trophies. A trophy in France. France, Bois, Sodi. South Dutch, French, Flemish, West German, North German, East German, South. Seems like it checks out for my dad. He always said Belgium. It makes sense to me. I don't know how far this place is from Belgium, by the way. I'm in Belgium. I'm in Belgium. Oh, that's kind of in the further south. Trophy here. Proto Celtic. Thraci. Gallic. Welsh, southeast. There's Vandals, southwest English, southeast English, Flemish, Irish. Danish Johnny, my dad, Native American. There's the the lineage that goes back to Japan before the Ice Age. And the Tlingit would have said this lineage was Shukaka, which also extends to Patagonia. And also is connected to the Simishin as well, which was connected to my medieval Japanese, Scottish old friend Jess. Yeah, so it's amazing though, like how far the Asians went, or the East Asian, Southeast Asian, Northeast Asian. Let's see my dad has last level. Oh, this is Danish, West Scottish, Irish, Bretons. My dad got this one too. I don't know if I got him. It's a lot. It is a lot. Oh, so I probably got that from him. Okay, so this is Derbyshire. That's Breton. Here we go. It's showing now. And then does it show Spanish close to that picture? Not this one. But some do. Depends which one. Okay. Oh. Uh, Dad's partner Julie got this one too. French, Welsh, Spanish, Galicia. There it is. Celtic Breton and Aucklington, Yorkshire. Irish, most closely connected to. There's Celts. Guess it all depends on which Celtic. Because sometimes they'll say Danish, Viking, mixed, Iceland. They were Viking, yeah. Ancient Celts were, yep. And then it mentions all different tribes connected to the Celts. I guess it's just, it's like how they do with Gauls. I guess they do the same thing with Celts. You can see here I was very connected to the Sequini, the Aedui. It's very closely connected to modern day populations in Galicia and Portugal. Probably closely connected to Celtic tribes in parts of Spain as well. Verni. Yep. Gordici. Okay. Right. Oh, then there's the Celtic Cantiasi. I used to say Cantiasi because it sounds like cantar in Spanish. But I think it can also mean like edge. He mentions they were by far the most civilized tribe in Britain and shared similar customs with the Gauls. Julius Caesar mentioning them. Former capital Duravernum, Catia Corum became the modern day city. Catabari, famed for their spirited resistance against Roman conquest, these tenacious warriors and skilled horsemen leveraged natural fortifications of the homeland to stage during guerrilla warfare, guerrilla attacks, and their societal hierarchy that Athiasi placed immense value on both kinship and craft, excelling in metalwork and pottery, which were traded far and wide across the Celtic world. Their spiritual life was deeply connected to the land. Sacred groves, natural springs playing central roles in their worship and daily rituals. There we go. Yeah, and then see. Oh, southeast. Where was this? Southwest. Sure. Yeah, southwest. Switzerland. Okay, then I'm just gonna cover my dad's partner real quick. Last but not least. She got some new ones. I don't remember seeing this one before. It was connected to Irish. Yeah, she would always say I'm barely Anglo-Saxon white. She's also connected to a lot to different Celtic tribes as well, and Bretons and so Gals. Oh, #1 match. Oh, there it is. I don't think I got that #1 match yet. Got #3. This man was mostly connected to the most closely connected to Irish. Celtic Trejos. Settled in the area known as Dorset in southwest England. Name translates to four dwellers, for which they had many fortified forts, including one on Ham Hill and Main Castle. They issued their own coinage for the Roman conquest, which featured horses and geometric, almost geometric patterns. Interesting. Oh, there's Cornwall. There we go. West Scottish Irish. I can hear her say, "I'll take it." Oh, she got that one too, like my dad. Evil England, Irish, modern day Irish. There's some extra matches. A lot. #1. Oh, also in France as well, like with me. Here we go. Gallo Celtic. This one's more Latin. Etrusci. Good old. Also got Donegal as well, Ireland. Viking Danish. There it is. Viking Icelandic. Closer to Spanish. Celtic Vatodini. Votadini. Eastern coastal section of southern Scotland. Thought Edinburgh was located at the heart of New territory. Oh, there's Hungary. Where's the R1A? Scythian. Not Western Scythians, but just Scythians, yeah. Eastern European. Maybe. There's a lot. But no, honestly, yeah. Let's see. Scythians had a reputation as the epitome of savagery and barbarism. They were attacked, yeah, I'm not surprised. They're among the earliest people to master mountain warfare. They lived in tent-covered wagons and fought with composite bows from horseback with great nobility. Scythians could absorb the attacks of more cumbersome foot soldiers and cavalry just retreating out of range. Various barbed and poisoned arrows could be used. Western Scythians were based in modern-day Ukraine, southern Russia, Romania, and Bulgaria. Scythians had tamed their wealth from the control of trading slaves, grain, wheat, flocks, and cheese. Physically, they appeared European, although they all had Euro-Mongolian. Oh, there it is. Mongoloid phenotypes. Most, I'm not Mongolian. There it is. Most descriptions mention them as red or fair-haired with blue-gray eyes. Scythians' sites show rich, brightly colored textiles, leatherwork, and woodwork, as well as tattooing. Yep. I am not surprised at the least. Sometimes told my dad's partner Julie that she might have had some ancestry connection to Mongolia. She's like, I'm not Mongolian. I'm not Mongolian. So it's okay to be part Mongolian, but you can be more than that. Johnny Gold. Good amount of Irish as well, actually. Connections to Ireland. Close connected to the Spanish. We're not Spanish. Spain. See, the more Celtic it is, closer it is to Spain because it's going back to the Iron Age Celts. Yeah. Then Bjorn's like, yeah, you're very, 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 very distant. And I'm like, we're not as distant as you think. Actually, Julie was closer to Spanish Catalonia than Norwegian. Like, we're not as distant as you think. And now that I see the ancestry of the Avars, now it makes even more sense that they really had an impact, especially as you go further east into Europe, and then also the Americas. This connected to Northeast Asian ancestry in Japan. Had a huge impact, didn't they? But we show healing guardian dragons as well. Also connected to the Celts as well. I think there was one match that Julie got that was connected to Hellenistic Romans or South Italian. Yeah. I could hear her say, "Oh, tell me that." Yeah. So yeah, so here we go. It's not a huge match, but it is a match. Yeah, South Italian, Central Greek, Greek Isles, East Sicilian, Cyprus, Cyprian Greek, Italian Jewish, Greek, Crete, Algerian. So for those who don't know, because I know many people, especially in Northern Europe, they don't seem to know that much about the Greeks. They know a little, they know some of it, but not all of it. Hundreds of years before the traditional founding of Rome, Greeks began to colonize southern Europe. They established themselves along the coast of Sicily and on the littoral of the regions now known as Campania, Calabria, Apulia, Pula, and Basilicata. The Romans would later refer to this territory, which included the toe of the boot of Italy, as Magna Graecia, Greater Greece. Others brought Hellenic civilization, including Greek-style democracy and the Greek language, to this land, interred with the native Italic tribes, and had a lasting impact on the developing cultures of Rome. Hellenic cities were eventually absorbed into the Roman Republic. Naples, the Greek Neapolis, became Rome in 327 before Common Era. Sicily, which was initially populated by Phoenicians and by their colony Carthage, was also heavily colonized and settled by Greeks. Syracuse on the southeastern coast of Sicily was the most populated Greek city in the world by the 3rd century before Common Era. All Sicily was Roman by 212 before Common Era, conquered by during their Punic Wars against Carthage. So yeah, there it is. Of course, Anglo-Saxon as well. So that's Cheddar Man, good old Cheddar. Here we go. Related to the Rugi, Ostrogoth Lungbirds. Rugi, Old Norse for Rye Eaters, were an East Germanic tribe, migrated from southwest Norway to Pomerania. Around 108 Common Era, Tacitus mentions some as adjacent to the Gulfs. They were at first attacked by the Huns, but then joined Attila's campaign against Rome. Attila died, they rebelled, not surprised. Rugilan, Lower Austria. Surprise, surprise. So glad we all got our own trophy. Baltic tribe, Latvia, Lithuania. With the Korean language. Fierce and warlike, they worship a variety of gods, including Perkunas, god of thunder and lightning. Finnish and close ties to Gotland. There it is. All right, I think I'm done. I'm done. Or in Spanish, you would say yeah. Done. Okay, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Hope you guys learned a lot from watching. And I'll be off for now. Take care.